So hello everyone. Welcome to the DeepLoop podcast. So this is the first episode of our podcast, and so we will be talking about the tariffs that were imposed by Trump, and we'll also be talking about the BIMSTEC summit that recently happened in Thailand. And so the reason like we are starting this podcast is like we wanted to discuss about various things, like for example technology, geopolitics, economics, business or startups or finance, AI and ML. So we wanted to talk about various different things, and we wanted to have a deeper discussion on each of these topics, and we wanted to have a connection between them. So like generally you might have seen that people discuss these topics in isolation, right? But you like to really understand this topic in detail, we want to have like a connected discussion. So like because each and everything is connected with each other, so it's always better that we have a 360-degree understanding of things, and that will only have when we try to connect things with various other things, right? So that's the reason why we have given this name called deep loop. So deep basically means that we want to go dive deep into each and every topic, and loop basically means that we want like each topic is dependent upon other topics. So when we talk about one topic, like for example technology, we'll also be talking about economy, and then how economy impacts geopolitics. So it kind of forms a loop. So that is actually the reason for starting this podcast. And I also like to thank Yash also for agreeing to do this podcast with me. And so we both will be managing this podcast. And so this is the first episode, and we haven't thought of any like intervals in which this podcast will come up, like every week or every month. So it totally depends upon the topics of interest that we think of, and then they should also be beneficial to the audience as well. So based on that, we'll decide like when the further episode should come up. So yes, do you want to add something to it?
Okay, so basically, Sahil, thanks for briefing everybody,
Hmm.
right? Like, and I would just suggest, like, if we can just introduce ourselves briefly, right? Maybe what we do and why are we
Hmm.
doing it, and like, so because
Hmm.
otherwise people will just think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
okay, why are these two random people just
yeah.
talking about something, right? So
Hmm.
maybe I'll just quickly go ahead first, right,
Hmm.
and then you can
Sure.
introduce yourself, right? Like, so, hi everyone. Like, as Sahil already shared. This is going to be a very candid chat, right, between two individuals, two citizens from India, right? Like, and chatting on different topics, keeping in reference India and the world also. Introducing myself, I'm Yash. Basically, I'm a software engineer, right, and I have been developing software for last 6 years. Right, which also, and Sahil can give his introduction also, but like basically both of us are software engineers, and like we have been exploring software from last a couple of years, and uh, we are interested into AI, we are interested into the emerging technologies which are coming in and what are the impacts of it on society and on economics and economy of the world, right? Like, so, and primarily on India, right? Like, that's how
Hmm.
our interests are aligned, right? And considering that, basically we, as Sahil said, that we started to chat about all these topics internally on private forums, right? And then we realized that okay, there are, maybe we should just launch it as a podcast for other people to also hear it, share their opinion, right? And maybe collaborate also. So it's not technically a podcast, to be honest with you guys. Like, it's more to do with okay, what do we think, right? And what are your thoughts also, and if somebody wants to come and like share their thoughts also on this podcast in future, right? That is how we are looking at it from like from our perspective, right? And Sahil, you can correct me if I'm
Hmm.
missing some points here, right? But
Yeah.
even though we are terming it as a podcast, right, but it's more something which we want, like we want this conversation and the conversations in future to be a value
Hmm.
for the audience, right? For them to come and collaborate, they share their thoughts, right? So that we can bring and build a better audience and better society, right? Like that's the overall
Hmm.
idea around this podcast. Okay, this is not going to be a very traditional kind of podcast how you see usually on YouTube and everything. um so yeah, that's how I'll put
Hmm.
it. Right now this is the visibility which we have, guys, right, on candidly,
Hmm.
right? And we want to get more feedback from other people. How do we want to proceed this? How will this grow into more valuable of a time spent for everybody, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so this is all what I have in mind. Sahil, you
Hmm.
can continue and like share what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so coming back to me, let me give you my introduction. So myself, Sahil Bhosle, and I'm also a software engineer, full stack software engineer. And so Yash and I, like, both were working in the same company, and so there we actually met each other. And he is actually a senior to me, and like, I also have five years of experience in total. And so generally we build web applications, like in front end, back end, both. And so we had basically an interest, right? Apart from software development, like, this is what we wanted to have a discussion on. Like, we love geopolitics, we love, like, economy, like how things work, how business work, how stock markets work. So we have an interest in all of these things. And it's not just like, so we it's like, we have a depth of knowledge in software development, but we also try to have a breadth of knowledge in other fields as well, so that, like, it's also helpful personally also, like, breadth of knowledge in other fields, then your brain starts to think in a different way, right? Because, see, software engineering is one thing, but then because the type of work that we do in software development, like problem solving and all, so it's kind of like, at the end of the day, you think in a kind of similar way, kind of. The problems may be different, but the way of working is kind of same. But then if you have understanding of other things, right, then each field has their own problems, their own way of doing things, right? And we can also incorporate those things and solutions into software development also. So that basically gives us quite a good idea about how we should think, how we should progress, right? So that's the reason why we are actually here, and starting this podcast.
Great, great. That sounds great, Sahil.
Hmm.
I think as we shared, right? Like I see, this is the
Hmm.
first podcast. We are also trying to figure it out, right?
Hmm.
How we want to lay out this podcast. Whether we want to do it in a traditional podcast way, or whether we want
Hmm.
to do it like a Q&A thing, or like how do
Hmm.
we want to proceed, right? So for
Hmm.
first podcast, I think we have an agenda which Sahil had put up, right? And I think that
Hmm.
is this is a good agenda. So Sahil
Hmm.
can just introduce that to everybody, right? And
Hmm.
then we'll just chat about it for some time. Like you guys can definitely share your comments, your points, right? Your perspective on the chat, like, and like give us feedback, right, and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
Sahil, if you can just tell the agenda and we can get started on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, first, we will be talking about the tariffs that was imposed by Trump, and what are the implications of that, not just for the US, but also for the entire world. And specifically, we'll talk about India, because that is what is most important thing for us. And so how it has impacted. So before like, going further, I would like to, yeah, so basically the first few things that we will be discussing is that, we'll be taking some initial reactions from both of us, like, what both of us exactly think about those tariffs. And then we'll talk about, like, how these tariffs are actually impacting the global economy. And then we'll also talk about the how people, or maybe how countries are actually retaliating back to the US, including the US allies like European Union and others. And are these tariffs really good, or it's like more of putting pressure onto other countries? Or maybe, because the problem with these tariffs is that it also impacts the relationship of the US with other countries in a negative way. So we'll also be discussing all of that. And of course, the stock market crash that happened because of this tariff. So these are some of the things that we'll be discussing in terms of tariffs. Later on, we'll talk about the BIMSTEC summit, So it recently happened in Thailand, and the Thailand was actually the chair of this summit. And so we'll talk about a bit about that also, like what kind of developments that had happened, what kind of initiatives that the leaders have taken up, and how it will basically impact the South Asian geopolitics. So
Yeah.
yes, would you like to go first? Like, do you want to give your initial reactions on this tariffs imposed by Trump?
Okay. So yeah, I think honestly, the first impression and the first reaction which I had was, it was shocking. Definitely, it was
Hmm.
shocking, right, for everybody. But he had hinted it, right, like from even in his campaigns, also even in his when he like basically became the president, right, and I think he gave quite a bit of time for everybody to prepare, right, for the tariffs. uh, Definitely it was a shock, right, and for India also, I think for everybody else also, I think India was not that off guard, because India already, I think, knew internally that there was something which was going on. There were few talks already. Definitely it was a shock for everybody, right, and I think India was not that off guard, because I think India was in talk already internally, right, so that
Hmm.
was fine. um, I think when it has been already 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks right now already, right?
Hmm.
So tariffs have been imposed. There are multiple cycles of it also which have happened. Like there is a like brutal tariff war between China and US which is going on. I think they are like softening up now, because from what I'm listening right now, they are like going to tone down the tariffs quite a bit, right? Uh, but so initial thought for first 1 week for me was also, okay, this is going to be catastrophic for US, right? This is going to be a devastating decision for US. But when the whole noise has been settled, I think it is going to be good for US eventually. It is going to take time, definitely, right, like maybe few
Hmm.
years, also maybe few months, maybe few years also, but I think this is going to be good for US eventually. And I can definitely see there are a lot of memes and there are a lot of videos which came in after the tariffs were imposed from China, regarding, okay, like this is made in
Hmm.
China, that is made in China, and I think
Hmm.
that is fine, because I think everybody in the world right now knows that China builds a lot of stuff, right, and I'm not saying that they are wrong in it, right, like I think
Hmm.
they are very hardworking people, right, like, and over the years they have been very disciplined and like basically grew themselves quite well, right, like, so I think everybody should appreciate that, and take that and understand that in with maturity, right. Regarding coming back to the tariffs, right, like, I think eventually it is good for everybody, right,
Hmm.
because uh, yeah, it is going to good it is going to be good for everybody, right, like,
Hmm.
even for India, right, like now we are seeing that the vice president from USA, JD Vance, is in India, right, like right now, right,
Yeah.
and there are talks regarding trade deals between India and US on
Hmm.
19 different commodities, right, like in 19 different threads. So I think that is good for India. Anyways, that was going to be good, right? I think the one thing, and another fact which everybody was talking about is like, okay, only USA is going to be impacted with it, right?
Hmm.
I think that also has been clarified already, right? That it is not only the US which is going to be impacted, right?
Hmm.
I think it is also going to be other nations, right? Like which are getting impacted. I don't see that much retaliation as such. To be honest, I think there was definitely talks that there will be a lot of retaliation from a lot of countries, right? Even their
Hmm.
allies, the people, the countries which export to US, right? And
Hmm.
but I think the retaliation is not happening that much, and I think I'm happy about it, right? Actually,
Hmm.
because US is definitely a lot is the biggest importer of goods from other countries, right? And I think everybody should understand that. Everybody should
Hmm.
basically respect that, right. The only thing which I don't like is like the way tariffs were imposed and the
Hmm.
language which was used. I think it would have been much more um, like collaborative, or like not collaborative, but it would have been much more subtle in the tone, right? But I
Hmm.
think the tone which was used was very wrong, because the tone was used that okay, America has been ripped off, right, for
Hmm.
years, which is also not right,
Hmm.
because I think America also needs the world, right? And
Right.
that America should also understand, right?
Hmm.
And the world needs America, right? Like, so world should also
Correct.
understand that, right? So I think there is a understanding which needs to happen. uh, so that's my views on initial views on tariffs.
Hmm.
Yeah, like you,
Hmm.
I would like to know your thoughts on this. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like we need America basically, and America is definitely is not. It's on its peak, like it's a declining superpower. But still, I think there is a need for America to be there in the game. And coming back to the tariffs part, I initially never thought actually that Trump would actually impose tariffs on 172 countries all at once, and because he has like he say a lot of things, right? But hardly, like he eventually, like practically, if you see, like he does not do much, but he says a lot of things. And initially I haven't thought of that, but on 2nd April he actually imposed all those tariffs. And the good part was like it was not reciprocal tariffs, it was like soft reciprocal tariffs. It was
Yeah.
like a minimum was 10%, and I think a maximum it went to 125 percentage.
Mm.
But that too was for China only, like
Yeah.
but for other countries it was below 60, 50, 60%. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was good. And coming to India, it was 25% tariff that was actually imposed by Trump, and it was quite manageable actually. And I think the prime minister has already had few negotiations with Trump when he actually had that kind of visit. I think last month he had a visit to USA. So, and it went for around 4 hours, that entire meeting. So during that, definitely, like prime minister has kind of negotiated, and he might already be knowing about that some kind of tariffs would be imposed on India as well.
Yeah.
So Modi was also quite prepared in terms of that. And yeah, I think these are some of the thoughts from my side also.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing which which I think is like, I understand they imposed the tariffs on 172 countries, right?
Hmm.
But I don't think a lot of tariffs were relevant. Also, there were
Hmm.
few tariffs only which were really relevant, which are the major trade partners with US, right? Like,
Hmm.
so.
Right.
So I think those countries got impacted a bit. I think in general everybody should understand that if you have to do business, basically you will have to obey with everybody's rule, right? So tomorrow if India imposes some kind of tariffs on US, right, US will have to basically understand that and like
Hmm.
respect that, right? And I think they will do, right? Uh, I also but regarding that, I think one point which I also want to heavily emphasize, right, is
Hmm.
this these tariffs are also an eye opener for, I think, India. These should be
Hmm.
eye opener for India, definitely, right? Because
Hmm.
these tariffs will definitely bring a lot of opportunities to India, and I think a lot of countries are unhappy about it also, right?
Hmm.
As we can see in the recent times, right, the events which
Hmm.
have happened, right? I
Hmm.
think a lot of countries are not happy with what is happening, but I think they should also understand that it's world, right? Like, so
Hmm.
it's a human nature that if somebody basically it's business at the end of the day, right? Like, so
Right.
wherever
Right.
somebody will find better deals, right, they will go there, right? Like, so
Hmm.
and everybody should understand that kind of practical outcomes and situations, right? Like, so
Hmm.
there is no point in actually creating instability into any other
Hmm.
country just because like some other country is getting like your
Hmm.
opposition country is basically getting like ahead,
Hmm.
right? So I think regarding India's eye opener, right? Like, so I think in general, and I'm not talking about this to like government or any other people. In general, I think I want to raise a point that the young generation which we have, right, like the
Hmm.
working generation which we have already in India, I think we need to take this as an opportunity, right, from the world, right, like that.
Hmm.
um, at this point I think we have a good skill set in India.
Hmm.
We definitely are lacking in a lot of skill sets, right,
Hmm.
but we have a good skill set in certain areas, right. I think in general, the Indian youth, right, needs to grow out of social media and just understand that now it's time to actually work,
Hmm.
and not work in the sense I think everybody is working very hard right now, I
Hmm.
understand that, right, but I think everybody needs to take this as an opportunity, right, and understand that this can be a life changing opportunity for India also and for them also, right.
Hmm.
Like if we take a good lead, if we develop good kind of product, we develop world level products, right, at this point, we grow into tech a lot, right, and we
Hmm.
basically innovate at this point in various domains, right. In software we are like good, we should grow into manufacturing also, we should grow into
Hmm.
healthcare also, right, like in
Hmm.
every domain if we basically focus right now, right. I think this is decade can be a very big decade for India.
Hmm.
I think everybody on watching here, and we, you, me, right, everybody listening
Hmm.
to this will understand this, right. But I want to still raise it, right, as a point
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
I think this is a good time for India to grow, right, and the people who will actually be growing in this economy are going to be the ones who will take this
Hmm.
opportunity very seriously, right. A lot of people are already doing it, right. There have been a good set of manufacturing
Hmm.
basically initiatives in India which have happened last 1 year itself, right, because people are anticipating that this is going to happen, and like we are going to like grow
Hmm.
as a manufacturing hub, we are going to grow as a innovation hub, right. And I think, I think everybody should take that very seriously. Everybody should understand that they need to upskill, right? It's not just about okay what you are doing right now, right?
Hmm.
You will have to outgrow and go into a broader domain and understand what is going on, right? Like,
Hmm.
and that I think was the initial agenda also, which Sahil pointed out, right? That
Hmm.
world is and the skills are going to be more generalized going forward. Okay, so with the advancement of AI, right? Like and
Hmm.
we work in AI extensively, so we can definitely vouch for it that a lot of skills which you already have are going to be either obsolete, right? Eventually, either you believe it or not, either you agree with it or not, or doesn't matter, right? Or
Hmm.
whether you questions AI's capability or not, right? That doesn't matter, right? Like so, I'll be honest with you, like brutally honest. That doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not.
Hmm. Right.
It is going to happen, right? So the better way is like to use it for your advantage, right? Like so
Hmm.
to learn better, to learn faster, right? Like to
Hmm.
learn things which you haven't explored ever in past, right? So
Hmm.
the biggest, I think the AI is in general one of the best technologies which have come in the advancement in human
Hmm.
history. Okay,
Hmm.
because with this you can learn and grow yourself in various domains very fast, right, if
Hmm.
you use it wisely, right. And I think with that, I think Indian youth, Indian working class,
Hmm.
right, should definitely take an advantage of it,
Hmm.
right. Take it seriously and use it, right. Don't be scared of it, right. uh, that is how I am looking at it, and why I'm
Hmm.
bringing up AI is because uh,
Hmm.
this all tariff and everything and economy is related to AI eventually. Okay, so US tariffs coming in is related to AI, to robotics, right. The advancement and the kind of independence which they are feeling that they will have with AI and robotics, right. So and that is right, even China is doing it, right. Um, Even India should do it, right.
Hmm.
So that is how I am looking at it is India at this point I think should not just criticize. There's a lot of buzz, and the reason I'm also sharing this is because there's a lot of
Hmm.
buzz on social media, especially Reddit, Twitter, where Indians are just criticizing every initiative or any small initiative or big initiative taken by anybody in India. Okay,
Hmm.
so I think one thing I'll just clarify, and this is a little off topic to tariff, I understand, but I'll just clarify into and share my thoughts on this. because this is the first podcast, right?
Hmm.
A few years back, right, 10 years back, everybody used to like say just say about China is that China is a cheap copy maker, right? They
Hmm.
reverse engineer everything. They are like copying everything, right? And
Hmm.
they develop cheap copies for everything, right? Like, so that is how we used to perceive China, right? Everybody used to perceive China. They used to mock
Right.
China, right? Like, they used to laugh on China, right? And all that stuff. Today, 2025, basically everybody is praising China, right? Okay, they are leading the
Hmm.
innovation in AI, they are leading the innovation in chip development, they are leading the
Hmm.
innovation in robotics, right? So the thing is, like, see, criticism is something. It's, if you want to criticize, go for it.
Hmm.
Please criticize. That's your right, right? I'm not going to counter on that, right? But rather than criticizing, I think the better way will be to be productive, right? Contribute, right? Like,
Hmm.
and criticize on the things which make sense, right? Like, so
Hmm.
criticizing on things, okay, we can't build a social media platform, right? Like Facebook or Instagram or anything, right?
Hmm.
You don't know, like, whether WeChat or like China's social media platforms were that good, right? Initially,
Hmm.
whether they are that good right now, also you don't know, right? And I'm not
Hmm.
saying that we should build and go and build social media and all that stuff, right? So the only
Hmm.
thing I'm saying is, like, stop comparing, right? Do
Hmm.
things which you can, right? Compare on the front where you can, right?
Hmm.
And be a little bit satisfied also on where you are right now, right? We are in
Hmm.
a good space, we are in a good country also, right?
Hmm.
We just keep on blaming everything which we have, right? Which
Right.
is wrong, right? We have a good opportunity right now. We have good alliances also with a lot of countries, right? The good diplomatic ties with a lot of countries. The countries which are fighting between themselves are also allies of us, right?
Hmm.
I think that is a good advantage for us. And it's not just advantage, we have built it that way, right? Like, we have worked, our governance has been like that in last 10 years,
Hmm.
where they have developed these kinds of diplomatic ties. And I don't think those misalign with anything with how
Hmm.
our policies are, like how individuals think, right,
Hmm.
in India. I think
Right.
every citizen in India actually thinks and believes in those diplomatic ties and the way governance
Hmm.
and the government has actually um, like, basically shared it
Hmm.
with other countries, right? So yeah,
Hmm.
that's my thought. I think I went a little off
Hmm.
tangent from tariffs, but
Hmm.
regarding tariffs, I don't think that is going to be a problem for US also eventually.
Hmm.
From the recent news, what has happened in last 2 days or last 1 week, what I'm seeing is US and China are also in talk regarding
Hmm.
softening their tariffs. They are going
Hmm.
back. They will be going back
Hmm.
to again 60% tariffs on China rather than 245, which was like
Hmm.
absurd. But so US also needs China. China also needs US. India also needs
Yeah.
China. India also needs US, right? And
Multipolar world.
yeah, so that's my thought. Like, sorry, I went a little into different
Yeah,
tangent.
actually makes sense. Like, I can also see that like mostly Indians, they do criticize
Yeah,
that we don't build products by our own self and all those things.
yeah,
And rarely there are a lot of few people who actually take initiative and they build stuff,
yeah,
right? And when it comes to China, definitely they have a lot of capabilities, and they have like done a lot of things when it comes to technology. And it's not about like copying is one thing, but then copying exactly how it is, or maybe even like making it better. I think that part we can definitely learn, right?
yeah,
Because copying is also difficult, it's not easy, because
yeah,
the things that we are copying, right? For example, if you want to, let's say, copy how basically ChatGPT is developed, right? So they have developed deep, so it's not that easy, right, to develop that kind of product. So
yeah,
you should have that kind of technological advancements, right? You should have that kind of knowledge, right, between your youth,
yeah,
basically. And then only you can do that. So that
yeah.
I totally agree
Yeah,
upon.
one thing I'll just share on that point is, like, to just clarify with everybody, right? Like,
Hmm.
Sahil's point is right. That reverse engineering anything is like difficult, right? And that itself, it takes skills. One thing I'll also share, one point which is perspective from Americans, right? And I agree with
Hmm.
them in some point, in some directions, is they are raising the points that, okay, we innovate, right? We design, we
Hmm.
share it with China, and eventually, when it is a success, China basically copies it and sells it at a very cheap cost, right?
Hmm.
And I think India should also learn a lot from there, right? India should learn that. And let me just clarify what we should learn. Okay,
Hmm.
we should learn that if somebody already is doing the innovative part, right, if they have done that, right,
Hmm.
we should not steal it. Let me just
Hmm.
again clarify, we should not steal it. Okay,
Hmm.
because they have worked hard, they have worked and put in a lot of effort, a lot of R&D, right, a lot of money, a
Hmm.
capital into it, right? So without asking them, right, without taking any consent, right, without partnering with them, right, or
Hmm.
just just taking it and stealing it, right, is
Hmm.
also not right in a lot of sense,
Right.
right? Because that basically becomes like a bad harmony between two people,
Hmm.
right? Like, okay, like why are you just stealing from me, right? And
Hmm.
in a lot of sense, in a lot of cases, basically what happens is like people collaborate, right? Right now
Hmm.
India collaborates with US on a lot of fronts, right? Like on
Hmm.
software, on hardware, right? A lot of fronts, right? There are a lot of companies from US which are stationed in India. There are a lot of companies
Hmm.
from India which are stationed in US, right? And we collaborate with together, right? Like, so there is no need for stealing, right? And
Hmm.
it can be a little controversial. Maybe if somebody from China listens to this, like, they will say that, okay, we are not stealing, right? But
Yeah.
I will not comment on that. But the thing is, like,
Hmm.
this has been raised by Americans, and I think that is not wrong, right?
Hmm.
A lot of people in America actually invest a lot of time into research and development, right?
Hmm.
And developing good products, right?
Hmm.
And if that gets stolen by anybody, doesn't feel good to anybody. Even if that
Hmm.
happens with us, like if we develop something and like that is stolen by somebody else, we will not feel good about it, right?
Hmm.
So it's a general general understanding. I think everybody should understand this. We should definitely learn by reverse engineering, but I think eventual product
Hmm.
development and product production
Hmm.
should be definitely monitored, right?
Hmm.
We should not steal somebody's work, right, ever, in any
Hmm.
kind of domain. So that is something which I would like to raise as an
Hmm.
awareness for everybody. I think it can be a little irrelevant for people listening from India, right?
Hmm.
But I think as a just caution and as a disclaimer, I would like to put it out for everybody, right? So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense actually. So like there should be some kind of innovation,
Yeah.
right? And but like when it comes to China, they exactly copy the
Yeah.
things that are developed by USA. So
Yeah.
that is also not correct way actually.
Yeah.
And at least in terms of design, there must be some change. For example, I think there was some car that was been copied by. I'm not sure like which
Yeah,
car it was.
it's Xiaomi Su 7, which is like very similar to Porsche's
Hmm.
911 GT. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So even like in terms of design also they don't change much,
yeah.
right? And definitely like internal parts might be different, but
Yeah.
then and when it comes to India also, like it's not that we are not doing things. We are definitely like indigenously building a lot of good technological products. So
Yeah.
UPI is the like best example that we have, and the entire world is actually using that. So we should be proud of that. And apart from that, we are also manufacturing a lot of things. We are manufacturing weapons, we are manufacturing phones, right? So and even like we have a lot of good startups also in terms of like space technology, where they are building satellites and all, and even drones, right? So definitely we are also like doing a lot of good things, and we are also on the right track.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it will definitely take some time, like maybe next 10 years or so, 10 to 15 years, to actually reach that position where China is there, or maybe but because see, China is a different country, right? The politics that it has, right? It has a communist government, right? One party government. And India is kind of different, right? India has a lot of parties, and we have elections, and we have internal problems, right? In China, like if there is there you will not see any protest or anything against the government, but when it comes to India, you will see all of these things. So
Yeah.
definitely it impacts, or it slows down the development of a
Yeah.
country.
Yeah. I
So that
think.
is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is a completely valid point. That's what I actually keep telling people, right? That
Hmm.
there is no point comparing China to India, right? Okay,
Hmm.
what you have, basically just compare and just do that, like do better.
Hmm.
Okay, you should definitely learn from China. That definitely is important, right?
Hmm.
But doesn't mean that you need to compare everything. Okay, what is the going to be the deep seek moment for India? We don't need a deep seek moment. Okay, we
Hmm.
we don't need a deep seek moment. Okay, the
Hmm.
way we are growing, I think we are pretty self-sufficient. I think it is going good, right? We
mm,
should grow faster, definitely, right?
yes,
In certain areas, I think we need to ramp up quite a bit, especially into
mm,
battery technology, especially into deep tech, right, into AI,
mm,
and I think people are doing it, right? The only thing is, again, though, that's the thing, right? Like, so people should stop comparing, first of all, right, in a wrong sense.
mm,
Okay, compare it in a manner that, okay, where you
mm,
can even contribute or not, right? So I see a lot of people
mm,
who can't even contribute, actually comparing and like criticizing,
mm,
right? So
right,
that's not like, that's insensible, right? Like, first of all, right, if you
mm,
are into deep tech, if you are a deep tech
mm,
person, like somebody who is a researcher, right, and
mm,
criticizing, sharing his opinion, that makes sense, right? That adds
mm,
value, that adds a feedback into the society. But if you are like a producer, a film producer, right, and
mm,
criticizing, that doesn't make sense, right? So yeah, uh, so yeah, that's the thing. I think
mm,
tariffs, coming back to tariffs, I think tariffs are going to be good for, in general, for all the countries.
mm,
Every country will start being a bit more reliant, self-reliant, right?
mm,
Even the allies, US's allies, which are in Europe or like Canada, right? I think they
mm,
also have understood that it's been long time where they have actually
mm,
like just been an ally with US, and like just using US's
mm,
but like resources, right? I'm not saying that Europe can't do it on their own, right?
mm,
But the thing is, they need to change their thoughts also, their approach also, right? And be more self-reliant.
mm,
And I think that is going to happen. Yeah. Sorry, first of all, everybody and Sahil, like for this mic, I'll definitely get a better mic, much better
yeah.
mic from this one. Not sure what is happening, but yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, regarding what is the next point do you want to talk about? Stock markets.
Uh, yeah, we can talk about the impact of these tariffs on stock market or global economy.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of volatility in stock market right now, right? And
Mm,
that is understandable, because one of the points which you already brought up, right, is Trump is like
mm,
quite unexpected, and
mm,
like he is unpredictable, right? Like, so the way he has imposed tariffs was a little shocker for everybody, right? Like, and
mm,
in just 1 week, he actually increased the tariffs to maybe 150% more on China, right? So
mm,
from 64% or 60%, I think that was something, what that was the figure, to 45%, I think, that kept on increasing every day, right? Like, so that was a lot of,
yeah.
that was unpredictable for everybody, right? But I think
Mm,
these kinds of decisions have to be unpredictable, okay?
mm,
Because if you plan a lot, right, that is not going to happen, right? Like, so you can see a lot of these kind of decisions happen in past in various countries, right? In India, demonetization happened, COVID's lockdown happened, right?
mm,
So sometimes these kinds of things happen only with a shock, right? That is how, like, everybody should like
mm,
make peace with it, right?
right.
Uh, and I think the markets have stabilized, right? I
Mm,
already, right, if you see, US market has already stabilized, Indian market is
mm,
already stabilized, I think even China's market is already like stabilized. It boomed a
mm,
lot that time, and I think it is already stabilized now. So
mm,
people need to be a bit more patient with stock market. I think this already tells people that, okay, don't panic, right? Be sensible, be a little bit more patient, right? And I think that is a general advice given to any stock trader or investor, right? That be patient,
mm,
right? Don't be impulsive. Okay, like, this is the decision which is taken, and like, now I'll
mm,
do take some
yeah.
decisions, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like one thing which I feel is that the tariffs can also like increase inflation also, right?
Hmm.
So, for example, like if you see, so if you are like imposing tariff on 172 countries, right? Now, definitely these are tariffs imposed on the imports,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Coming to USA. Now, definitely, if you are like adding tariffs on these many countries, and that too of kind of 20%, 30%, then definitely like it will impact you at home, right?
Yeah.
And the price of the products will definitely rise, and
Yeah.
there will be an inflation in your country. So definitely, and it has affected the stock market as well.
Yeah.
And of course, like they have recovered like globally, but they have definitely impacted that as also.
Yeah, it has
And
impacted local users also. So even
hmm,
American citizens, I have seen videos where people are impacted by it,
hmm,
right? There are a lot of people which have small businesses, who used to import or like do drop shipping or like e-commerce business from China,
hmm,
right? Like, and right now they are into a like kind of a like
hmm,
situation right now. Like, there are a lot
hmm,
of people who used to develop things in US also, but used to use Chinese
hmm,
products for packaging and like all that stuff, right? And they are
hmm,
also feeling the issue, and I definitely sympathize with these people, right?
hmm,
But I also feel that eventually US will develop these kinds of services anyways, okay?
hmm,
And it like they will see high prices, and I think US is self sufficient to actually
hmm,
take care of it, right? One thing which is one narrative which is there in society, in all the whole world, right, is US is a declining power, right?
hmm,
I don't think that is true, to be honest, right?
hmm,
Sure, like they are like doing bad numbers, maybe, right?
hmm,
But I don't think they are declining power. I think US is a very supreme power right now in the world. I am not saying the
hmm,
other countries are not growing. Okay,
hmm,
China is growing, right? India is growing. Germany is growing. Japan is growing,
hmm,
right? I definitely get that, right? But I don't think US. I don't see
hmm,
US going away anywhere like in next 50 years. Okay,
hmm,
I think they have a good geographical advantage, they have a good
hmm,
economical advantage, they have a good technological advantage, right? I don't see why people think that US is going to decline at a very
hmm,
fast rate also, because we have already seen that, right? Like, so when tariffs hit, everybody was saying
hmm,
that okay, this is going to destroy US market, and in
hmm,
last 3 weeks US market are at the same level, right? So yeah, you were
hmm.
going to say something. No?
I have a different opinion on that. I
Mhm.
definitely
Mhm.
feel it's kind of declining
Mhm.
or on the verge of that, basically.
Mhm.
Reason being that, see, the political system, right, that the US kind of it's corrupt,
Mhm.
basically, right? Of course, in India also you might see that reflection, but there I think left wing, right wing, and all those things are like quite higher. Even when it comes to like when you see the people, right, they also say that I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, so they
Mhm.
have kind of family to family, they keep on supporting a particular party and all those things. In India
Correct.
we'll generally not see that. Like
Hmm.
it's not that if I support BJP, then my like family will also do that, because in our case, like it's quite different in India's case.
Hmm.
But there I think family wise also it is quite thing, like politically they support
Hmm.
a same party and all those things. And see, there are lots of protests and other things happening, and so based on racism and all those things are there, and the government is like not able to control that kind of thing. And so basically, like thought wise, I think they are a bit not in a right position.
No, I
But
understand. So the
yeah.
points which you shared, I think those point already those in some point hint that like it is
Hmm,
something which is like a, which creates an unstable government,
hmm,
unstable state, right? But I still feel, right, because
hmm,
that and it's completely fine to have different opinions, right? That's how I
hmm,
would like to actually keep this podcast
hmm,
also, right? Like,
yeah.
is to have different kinds of opinion
Hmm,
be on the table. Like, maybe we'll have a few more people in the future, right? Like, and I would
hmm,
like to have different opinions. I don't think the conclusion of this podcast should be for everybody to be on the same page.
hmm,
Okay, so I completely respect the opinion which you have, right? The reason I'll share why I think US is not declining. See, US is a
hmm,
like very influenced politics via capitalism, right?
hmm,
I think they have a very strong capitalistic society, right? A lot of people actually encourage entrepreneurship. A lot of people actually like encourage capitalism, right? Like quite a bit. Even
hmm,
if they like criticize it, they actually enjoy it, right? So that's how US has been,
hmm,
and I think that has been a primary driver for US for a very long time, in
hmm,
from last 50 years, I would say. So that is the only reason why I feel, because of the capitalistic and the influence of capitalism which
hmm,
has
huh,
on politics, right? on US. I think that will drive US into a better position already, right? Even in fact, I think that will actually make the government take better decisions also, right?
Hmm.
And some of the
Hmm.
examples for that I can already see is the Stargate project which US launched, right? Which is $500 billion like data center development project, right? In collaboration with SoftBank, Oracle, and OpenAI, right? There is a lot of things which they are doing with Doge and like Starlink, right?
Hmm.
Like I don't see that will happen ever into any other democratic country, like in the world, right? Even in like a communist country also, right? Like if you see the kind of decisions which they are taking
Hmm.
in so swift manner right now, right? I think that is quite powerful. I
Hmm.
think US has a very good governance. It had a good governance in past also. I'm not saying that this
Hmm.
government is the only one which is like a very different government, right? But I
Hmm.
don't doubt anything on this government also. Sure, like people can have opinions that okay, these are very disruptive changes. So the simple example can be like the bill which was passed yesterday itself by Donald Trump, okay, which was related to incorporating AI into like the education system for children. So yeah, so coming
Hmm.
back to the initiative, right? Like
Hmm.
yesterday itself there was some bill which was passed related to
Hmm.
incorporating AI into the education system for kids, right? And for the
Hmm.
children's in their education system. I think that is a fantastic example, right? Which already tells that okay, there is a good collaboration between the private companies which are there into US, right? And the government entities, right? So and I
Hmm.
think this is one of the one of it is very very powerful
Hmm.
collaboration which is there, right?
Hmm.
In India if you see, that collaboration is not that powerful, okay.
Hmm.
There are certain areas where like private partners are quite involved, right? But there are certain areas where private players are not involved at all, right?
Hmm.
So I think that is very good with US. I think in China, as compared to that, China is the private sector, right? Like which is there, right? Private
Hmm.
companies which are there are heavily actually controlled by government, right? On the
Hmm.
other hand, right? The only first instance where I felt that okay, China is actually very supportive of and like in collaboration with private firms is when in recent times the deep sea event
Hmm.
happened, and like even the Chinese president actually went and like met with the deep sea company and like the members from there and people like that, right? So and like the events like that, so even Jack Ma came into light again because with his Alibaba
Hmm.
and the Quinn models and everything. So
Hmm.
the only collaboration which I have seen from China, and maybe there must be in past definitely
Hmm.
which have happened, but I the way I have always looked at China is like okay, China has always had a controlling power on private firms, right? And I'm not saying that is wrong, right? I'm in
Hmm.
no sense I'm saying that that is wrong. That is how they want to govern their country. They're free to do that, right? But coming to the point that okay, whether US is a uh, economy which is going to like
Hmm.
go down, I think no. I think eventually that is my perspective, that eventually in
Hmm.
next 10-20 years we will start to see that okay, the capitalistic perspective and the
Hmm.
influence which capitalism has over the US will actually drive a lot of decisions on US government, and I think that is going to be good for US and citizens of
Hmm.
US also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I again like coming just to wrap up, like I
Hmm.
completely agree with your not maybe agree with your point, but I agree your perspective. I see your perspective, why you think
Hmm.
about it and like the way you look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like few more reasons why I thought like that was like when you see the Biden administration, right? So it was not that good
Yeah.
for USA.
Yeah.
Personally, I think, and
Yeah.
incidents like Afghanistan and all, definitely the image of USA, that how
Yeah.
it was strong and all those were like it had an effect on that image,
Right.
basically. Also, the illegal immigration that has happened and kind of instability that is there
Yeah.
in that country, right?
Yeah.
Protest and a bit of things that are happening, so that definitely also like impacts that kind of image
Correct.
of the
Correct.
USA. And
Correct.
even the gun shooting and all those things that are happening in their schools, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Parallelly, if you see, right, since US is kind of, you can say, declining and all, but there are other power sources as well that are emerging, right? And India is the like best example, I would say. China
Hmm.
was there
Hmm.
already, but
Hmm.
then now India is there. Like parallelly, we also have Russia and kind of France also, you can consider.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that are also kind of challenging a bit in terms of like technology and
Yeah.
maybe in terms of development and all. But definitely, like, we are not close to USA. They are $1 trillion economy, and we are still at I think they are 21 trillion or something, and we are still at 3 or 4 trillion. So definitely there is no comparison, but still, like, we are kind of rising and becoming a superpower. And we are also reclaiming all of the things that, like, we have lost because of the colonial mindset that we had, right? Our culture and all those things. So
Yeah.
definitely people are like becoming quite aware also, like in India, and they are giving more preference to our culture and our traditions and following that instead of actually following the western culture.
Yeah.
So that is also a thing. And the major problem that I feel with US is that they generally don't stand with their allies.
Hmm.
So if there is an issue, right? So even if you take an example of that Russia Ukraine war, right?
Hmm.
So majority of the focus of the USA, which I personally felt, was on selling the weapons instead of actually helping the Ukraine, right, and getting it out of the war.
Yeah.
Because see, initially, if you see, right, there were negotiations between Russia and Ukraine and all.
Yeah.
But then later on, the negotiation completely stopped, and the USA also didn't put much efforts into like bringing both the parties onto the negotiation table, right? And they were mostly focused on like selling weapons and all, which I personally didn't like that part. And now, of course, like Trump is making some kind of effort, but I'm not sure like whether he would be that successful or not.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
is what I feel.
Yeah. No, definitely. So the point which you brought up, right, like which is Biden
Hmm.
administration was like a, I won't put it as a failure, right? Like because maybe
Hmm.
I'm not that, like maybe I'm not dignified to say that, but I think that definitely hampered the image of US into the global market, right?
Hmm.
And I think Trump had already raised that as a point in his campaigns also, and in after he took the office also, is world don't respect US, right? I don't think that is completely true, right? A lot of countries actually respect US, right, irrespective of their governance, right? But
Hmm.
and that is the reason I think why he actually went with the tariffs and like the whole
Hmm.
events with the tariffs and everything, that other countries actually start acknowledging that they actually need US, right?
Hmm.
Coming to the point which is like Ukraine and Russia war, definitely it was an effort to actually sell weapons, right? And that America was actually very successful in, right? And that has been the agenda for Trump also, right? The day he took the office, I think he wanted to de-escalate that war, right, and wanted to like
Hmm.
stop that war, right? Regarding like supporting allies here, what happens is there's a lot and large chunk of money which US is spending on these wars, right?
Hmm.
Regarding humanitarian aids, regarding weapons, right, and like giving out loans. None of these weapons are actually sold with in cash, right? All these weapons are sold into like loan payments, right, like that you will eventually
Hmm.
pay in like future, right, with no guarantee that you will ever pay, right? Like so tomorrow today Ukraine is actually taking all these weapons in on loan, right, and saying that okay, we will pay back, right? But what's the guarantee, right? Tomorrow if Russia invades Ukraine and
Hmm.
like just takes the whole territory, there is no guarantee
Hmm.
that the US will ever get the payment, right?
Hmm.
Who is going to pay that, right? So I think in this, in general, the way the whole Ukraine Russia war was handled by even US UK also, right? UK
Hmm.
or EU basically, right? Like Europe is also wrong, right?
Hmm.
I also understand why they did it, right? Because they are actually worried that if Russia gets the Ukraine, basically Russia will come to Europe also, right?
Hmm.
I don't think Russia's intention is that, right? To be
Hmm.
honest, I don't think Russia thinks in that direction. I think
Hmm.
European people definitely think in that direction. I'm not categorizing and generalizing everybody in Europe, right?
Hmm.
There are few countries who actually lead this pact. I don't think
Hmm.
every country actually aligns with it, right?
Hmm.
But there are some countries who are definitely worried that, okay, like Russia will come to their door and basically invade them also. I don't think Russia's intention is that ever.
Hmm.
Even in Ukraine's case, Russia did it because there were talks that Ukraine is going to be a part of NATO, right?
Yeah.
And I think it is not US's mistake at all. I'll be very biased here, right?
Hmm.
On this whole fiasco which happened, I think the whole situation was actually handled very
Hmm.
in a very messy manner by Europe. The way they actually supported Ukraine, right? And they basically thought that, okay, we'll support and we'll go and we'll just create chaos, that okay, we are going to and like go and give them a seat on NATO, right? Which they never did, right? They even
Hmm.
today they say that, okay, they will never accept Ukraine as a NATO nation, right?
Huh.
Then why were the promises made, right? In last 3
Hmm.
years, why were they making false promises to Ukraine that they will make
Hmm.
Ukraine a NATO nation, right?
Hmm.
But they just created the disturbance, they just created the chaos, right? Yeah,
One reason might be that they know like Zelensky is not a politician; he's a
yeah,
comedian.
yeah,
So maybe
definitely,
that may be
right.
the primary reason for that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was the reason, right? Like, so the way he was elected, right? Like,
Hmm.
and why he was elected, right, in the first place.
Hmm.
All this thing is like connected, right? I'll
Hmm.
probably not go into deep into it, but the thing is, see, this whole mess was created by Europe, by previous
Hmm.
US government also,
Hmm.
right? And I think current government in US is actually trying to like just clean this up,
Hmm.
right? Or get at least
Right.
get away from it, right? Because see, like if you are spending billions of dollars just in aid to some country, giving out loans, right, to them,
Hmm.
for them to fight, right, for
Hmm.
the fight which is not even required. So how, just tell me, like Ukraine was living peacefully with Russia from last, how, what years,
Hmm.
like 40 45 years,
Yeah.
right? And like what happened now? Russia didn't actually say that, okay, I'm going to invade Ukraine
Hmm.
in the first place, right? Like, so it maybe I'm going a little off topic
Hmm.
from the tariff. You
Yeah.
can just
But maybe like Russia's point of view is also right because
yeah,
like if NATO comes beside them, right, at the boundaries,
yeah,
then
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
that is also
absolutely,
not a right way.
right, right. See, like
It's
Russia is
like
a
enemy coming to your doorstep,
right,
basically.
right. Russia is a communist country, right? Like, so their whole
Hmm.
they are very sensitive in terms of like who is at their
Hmm.
border, right? Same goes with China also, right? Like, so
Hmm.
and if you are going to pull those threads, they are eventually going to retaliate, right? Like, so
Right.
that happened. And I think this whole thing, Ukraine, even if
Hmm.
I don't know whether they understand it right now or not, right?
Hmm.
I think they understand it now, right? That
Hmm.
they were just puppet in this whole drama,
Hmm. Makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
And I think right now America is trying to get out of it, and I think that is a good decision in
Hmm.
general, right? Because this is not their war, right?
Right.
They don't want to, they should not even like play it, right?
The
It's
US was
fine
kind
to,
of playing a proxy war, basically.
yeah, yeah, kind of, right? Like in the name of allies, right? Like that,
Correct.
okay, whether allies actually like wanted to do it, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise US don't even worry about Russia right now, right? If you see,
Hmm.
right, US and Russia has a decent relationship, right?
Hmm.
From past also, right? Like in from World War II also, right? Like
Hmm.
it is the allies and the ones who are in the Europe, right, who are worried
Hmm.
that, okay, what will happen, right?
Right. Right.
And yeah,
And coming back to our tariffs, so basically, initially, like when it was announced, I thought that it was intentional,
yeah,
basically because it crashed the market, right?
hmm,
And Trump was also kind of saying you
hmm,
buy stocks or something
yeah,
like that. So
yeah,
initially, I thought it's intentional because he's also a businessman, right?
hmm,
And maybe because of that, he might have done that.
hmm,
But then there is another thing to think about is that definitely he will not put US relationship with other countries on stake,
hmm,
right? Because definitely if you're imposing taxes, tariffs on these many countries
hmm,
just to just to have an impact on maybe temporarily like dropping the prices of the stock or crashing the stock market, then that
Yeah.
also does not make sense.
Yeah. No, I think there were definitely talks about insider trading and basically manipulating the
Hmm.
stock market, right? And uh, I think as a general human being, right, you
Hmm.
understand that okay, what happened was a little janky,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And there are few people who took advantage of it, right? Definitely they have taken advantage of it. There is no denial in it, right?
Hmm.
uh, and I'll not deny it, right?
Hmm.
Whether Trump led it or Trump knew it or Trump intentionally did it, that is something which I don't know, right? As a human being, right? Because I'm a citizen, right? Like in another country, sitting somewhere, right? Like so, I can't comment on that, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I think in general the manipulation, and I think in general this in this situation, like the normal
Hmm.
retail traders, right, or investors
Hmm.
should be a little bit more patient, right? And be more cautious, right? Not just patient,
Hmm.
right? Be more cautious, be more informed, be more practical, right? Like on what can happen, right?
Hmm.
Primarily be more informed, right? Don't take just decisions because like you write something on your Telegram portal and like okay, like on Telegram channel that okay, sell this, buy this, right? And do that, right?
Hmm.
Do your own diligence, right? Be more informative, right? Understand markets more, understand businesses more, right? Otherwise people will take advantage of it, right? Like
Hmm.
that's how the world works, right? Like so it's not something which has happened for the first time, right? Like so
Right.
there have been instances in every country, right? Like where this has
Hmm.
happened, right? So the simple example, let me tell you one thing, right? Like, so there's a lot of tech which is coming from China right now. Okay, we have developed this unitary robot, right? You have developed this
Hmm.
robot and you have developed that, right? This is the Xiaomi Su 7 car which can jump.
Hmm.
Su 7 can't jump. Su 7 is the fastest car actually, but there is some car
Hmm.
by BYD which can jump and all
Hmm.
that stuff, right? So great tech definitely makes sense. Fantastic tech, right? But if you think from
Hmm.
a rational perspective, right, a practical perspective, why does it matter whether my car jumps or not, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't matter,
Right.
it doesn't have any kind of practical application to it, right? So but like that's a hype basically, right? So understand the hype basically, right? And
Hmm.
that hype, and why I'm bringing this up is because that hype has actually brought a lot of investors from over the world to China. That okay, China is innovating faster than US, right? Like China has
Hmm.
like better tech in AI, better tech in chip development, right? And maybe they
Hmm.
have, right? Like I'm not saying that they don't have, right?
Hmm.
Like so, but like you haven't seen any practical use case of a lot of things which they are done,
Hmm.
right? Have people started using unitary robots in their house? No, right?
Hmm.
No, right now not. Are they going to do it in next 2 years? Maybe, right? But right now
Hmm.
not, right? Like so
Right.
just be more informed, just be more understanding and much more rational in terms of okay, what tech is actually correct or not. So the reason I'm saying this is like a lot we see unitary it's demos, right? But I have also seen
Hmm.
demos where people are controlling that robot with like a controller, right? So
Hmm.
where everybody is actually just thinking that okay, this is going to be a humanoid robot controlled by AI, right? Doing everything, every
Hmm.
stuff by itself, right? But and maybe in reality it's just a simulation, right? Planned on
Hmm.
robot, like basically controlled on simulation softwares, right? Controlled by a
Huh.
controller, right? So just don't buy into everything which you see on social media, right? There's a lot
Hmm.
of things. Okay, China developed this, India developed that, right? What is the source? Is there a source, right? Is there a paper, right, which is
Hmm.
actually published around it, right? So a lot of
Hmm.
actually hype is actually so the reason I'm bringing it up is because the market manipulation which we are talking about in US, right?
Hmm.
Same thing has been done by China also. The same thing has been done India also, right? By many companies, right?
Right.
So that's how stock market work, right?
Hmm.
Again, obviously, if he did it, he is the country's president, he should not have done it, right? um uh, so yeah, that is my thought. Like it's a
Hmm.
incomplete thought, to be honest, the way I'm sharing
Huh.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you think about the manufacturing plans that the Trump has for USA?
I think they will be able to do it, but it will
Hmm.
take time, right? As I said, like it
Hmm.
will take few months, few years, right? I think they definitely want to replace a lot of manufacturing with robots, right, and robotics. That's
Hmm.
how I think they are looking at it, right?
Hmm.
And I think they will be able to do it because a lot of industries
Hmm.
there are already doing it, right? So Tesla
Hmm.
has already a automated like assembly line, right, and everything. Similarly, and if they are doing it for cars,
Hmm.
they can do it for their Optimus robots also. And there are a lot of robotics companies which are like in US, right? Like so,
So, but do
they
you think that bringing manufacturing to USA makes sense? Because I think the cost of manufacturing, like the labor cost and the cost of living and other things, they are
yeah.
quite high in USA. So, does this
Hmm.
move really make sense, or like
Hmm.
importing goods is much better
It
than
definitely
doing
makes
that?
sense actually. Like, see, I think every country should have their own manufacturing.
Hmm.
They should not be completely dependent on any other country, be it
Hmm.
China, be it India, any other country.
Hmm.
Okay, we should have like balanced trade with everybody,
Hmm.
right? Even in India right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of people are actually importing a lot of stuff from China and then selling it all over the world,
Right.
right? I think it is fine to do business like that, right? But
Hmm.
I think India should definitely grow its own, and we have a good manufacturing hub already, right? But I
Hmm.
think we should also grow and like innovate at our manufacturing level also, uh, uh, rather than just relying on China or any other country, on US also, right? Eventually,
Hmm.
right, every country should have their own manufacturing. I'll tell you the reasons. Okay, so like in World War II, right? Regarding like you may have already read about it, but in during World War II, US was the one of the biggest exporters of ships all over the
Hmm.
world, right? They were the leaders actually,
Hmm.
right? Today, China is the leader, right? In
Hmm.
shipbuilding, in
Yes.
containers building, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not saying China is wrong in it, right? In no sense I'm saying that China is wrong, right?
Hmm.
They did it because they wanted to lead, right?
Hmm.
And they were smart about it. They were disciplined about it. They developed world class level ships. I am
Hmm.
not saying that they are bad at it, right? And I'm not saying that you should boycott it either, right? But
Hmm.
what I'm saying is like every country should have their own manufacturing definitely,
Hmm.
right? They should trade, they should have a balanced trade, friendly trade, right? But they should have their manufacturing, right? They should not
Hmm.
basically export everything out and like basically just import
Hmm.
from other people. No country should do that. Coming to the same point, right? One point which you raised, and I will just like to highlight and like share more on that,
Hmm.
is the way we look at it is okay. Like if India and China will grow, US will go down, right? Or
Hmm.
if the US will grow, India and China will go down. I don't think it
Hmm.
that way right now,
Hmm.
right? I think world is going to grow its horizon quite a bit in next
Hmm.
20-30 years. Okay, in various domains, right? Be it like
Hmm.
healthcare, health
Hmm.
health and mental care, right? Be it societal care, right? Like be it defense, be it manufacturing, be it products, right? Like anything, right? We are going to go multiplanetary eventually in next 30 years, 40 years, right? uh, Things are already like in place, right, for a lot of countries, right? I think the way to look at it is not in a way that okay, if China grows, US is going to go down, if US
Hmm.
goes, China is going to go down, if India goes,
Hmm.
uh, US is going to go down. I
Hmm.
think there is a lot of possibilities all over the world
Hmm.
beyond the earth itself,
Hmm.
right? And I think people should start understanding that rather
Hmm.
than like debating that okay,
Hmm.
like yeah.
Yeah, that was actually not my point. My
Hmm.
point was actually, see, there are like multiple power sources that are evolving basically,
Hmm.
and definitely they have they can definitely challenge USA. So
Hmm.
that is what I was saying. It's not that India and China are rising and so like
No,
USA will fall
I
down or something like that.
yeah.
But
No,
definitely challenge wise they can do that,
yeah.
right?
No, I completely agree with that. See, like
Hmm.
I understood your point. Like the thing which I am proposing is like we should think
Hmm.
like a little bit beyond that, right? Like that, and till now it was like that, right? Like so the till now
Hmm.
the world used to function like that, right?
Hmm.
That okay, there is a pie, right? And if somebody gets half pie, right, other people
Hmm.
will just get the other half, right? Like, and they have to then distribute it, right? And I think that's where like people will have to start thinking beyond this, right? Is that
Hmm.
like, what if you want to, what if you can grow the pie, right?
Hmm.
What if you can make it bigger, what if you can make multiple pies, right? So I think that is how everybody will have to start thinking, right? Even every country, and it's just saying, we are saying it like from our perspective, from my perspective, right? Sitting in
Hmm.
India, right? But I think every country should understand this, even China should understand this, even US should
Hmm.
understand this, right? That they can't dominate everything, right? They will
Hmm.
have to like take help from other people, right? And they should take it, right?
Right.
The mindset that okay, we are more powerful than you and we want to be more powerful than you,
Hmm.
it's okay if you want to keep it, but
Hmm.
like be practical that okay, at the end of the day you will need other
Hmm.
people's help, right?
Hmm.
And I think if that is something, that is how, if people keep on thinking, I think there is a
Hmm.
lot of opportunity everywhere for every
Hmm.
country to grow, right? Regarding the
Right.
manufacturing, I think it is a good decision for us to actually develop its own
Hmm.
manufacturing. In some
Okay.
areas they should definitely do it already, right?
Hmm.
It will take time, it will impact the citizens, I understand, right?
Hmm.
But I think that can be subsidized by subsidies by the
Hmm.
government, right? For the time being, till basically things get stable. So yeah.
Okay. And how do you think that different countries are actually retaliating against this tariff? Because I can see like only China is the one that is primarily has retaliated with
Hmm.
145% tariff
Yeah.
on the USA. Like apart from that, most of the countries, including European Union and India and Japan,
Yeah.
so they are actually negotiating
Yeah.
with the USA.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that? And also like when it like a lot of countries, including India, is trying to propose a trade deal with the
Yeah.
USA
Yeah.
instead of actually. So India basically, when it comes to India, India does not believe in doing trade deals in groups.
Hmm.
So, for example, if there is a group called Quad, so we just don't do a trade deal with an entire Quad. We mostly focus on doing trade deals individually. So, how do you see that as well?
Yeah, interesting observation regarding the India doing a trade only with certain one nation, right, rather than
Hmm.
in Quad, right? I would give it some thought like later on. But regarding retaliation, right?
Hmm.
As you said, right, I don't think any other country retaliated that much, right?
Hmm.
China did, because China has dependency on US
Hmm.
regarding their exports and everything, right? Like, so they retaliated, which is understandable. And I think as I shared, right, like from the news which I'm hearing from last 1 week, things have softened up quite a bit between China and
Hmm.
US. And I think China and they are renegotiating regarding their tariffs already.
Hmm.
I think they will come down, and I think everybody, as I said, right, it's a business, right? So
Hmm.
everybody will have to make their peace that okay, if they want to sell somewhere, right, they will
Hmm.
have to pay the price, right? And I think even after that also people can make profit, right?
Hmm.
Definitely lesser profit, right? But people can make profit, right? And I think the only way to deal with this is like to like grow, right? Individually grow
Hmm.
themselves, right? Like rather than just depending on any other country, that okay, they'll just be completely land on one source of income, right? Or one kind of earning, right? I think they
Hmm.
should, in general, every country should basically grow and
Hmm.
develop themselves. I know it's difficult for some countries, right?
Hmm.
For some smaller countries it is very difficult, right?
Yeah.
For that they can definitely take help from other countries, right? But for countries like India, China, I think they already understand it. India already
Hmm.
understands this, that there is no point in retaliation,
Hmm.
like, yeah.
Okay, and one more thing that I observed was that China is also saying that selling their that "Make America Great Again" caps
Hmm.
to USA.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that, and even the dolls of Trump, basically
Yeah.
that the dolls
Yeah.
that their heads move, right?
Hmm.
So they are also selling that
Yeah,
after these tariffs.
yeah, these are all trolls. Yeah, see, like what happens is, even these are two examples. The other examples are the Hermes bags, which they came up with, Hermes bags
Hmm.
and Louis Vuitton bags, which they like came up with, and they said that okay, these are made in China and all that stuff. See, are like I think everybody understands this. In US
Hmm.
also everybody understands this. In Europe also everybody understands this already, right? All over the world, people know that China develops these, right? China makes these
Hmm.
things, right? And regarding the Louis Vuitton and other stuff, I will not comment because I have never owned a Louis Vuitton thing. So I
Hmm.
think rich people problem, right? They decide
Hmm.
what they want to do, whether they want to buy or not, right? I don't care. Regarding the caps and everything, I think even
Hmm.
local people from US know that these are made in China, right? And I don't think
Yeah.
that is a shameful thing. See, yeah, I
Hmm.
think people take it in a wrong manner, right? I don't think that
Hmm.
is a shameful thing at all, right? Like
Hmm.
I think that should be an eye opener definitely for people, right? That why
Hmm.
are they like bringing from China, right? Why can't they make a
Hmm.
simple cap in India, in
Right.
US, right? Like, so I think rather than being ashamed, they should actually reevaluate,
Hmm.
right? And they should basically make things right. So
Right.
I the way I look at it is, I don't think it is a troll on US. I don't think
Hmm.
it is a troll on China or US. I think people
Hmm.
should like get an understanding that okay, they need to grow out of it and like basically
Hmm.
build stuff themselves, right?
Hmm.
Rather than doing TikTok or things like these, right? So
Hmm.
which don't add any value to the society, right? Like so,
Right.
uh, like doing random
Hmm.
TikToks, like TikToks which are not adding any value to the society just for getting some pennies, right? I think people need to grow out of it, and
Hmm.
yeah, that's how I look at it. Yeah, but what do you think
Hmm.
about it?
Yeah, I felt like laughing basically
Hmm.
when I initially saw this,
Yeah,
and it was quite interesting.
yeah.
And like a lot of people were also posting on Instagram that
Hmm.
they were showing that cap, and behind that cap it was mentioned made in China.
Hmm.
So it was quite interesting to see. But definitely, like whatever you have mentioned
Hmm.
makes sense. Actually, I agree with you, and
Hmm.
it is definitely an eye opener. And it's not just for USA but also for India also.
Yeah,
There are lots of things that we import from China, and we have to
yeah,
stop importing that and make sure that we manufacture that in our own country.
yeah, yeah. See, like
I think.
import from them. Yeah, import
Hmm.
things from them what they are good at, right?
Hmm.
Just don't be reliant on them, right? That's what I'm saying,
Right.
right? It's good to have a friendly trade with them, right?
Hmm.
But just don't be blind and like rely on them
Hmm.
completely, right? On US also, right? Like
Hmm.
not just China, on
Yeah, on
US
any
also,
country basically.
on any country, right? Like just
Yeah.
be self-reliant. That's what I want to see. Even today,
Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? Like so
Yeah.
that's how we should think about it. The other thing, yeah. So the I don't feel, I don't think US should be ashamed of like bringing things from China, to be
Hmm.
honest. Yeah, or any other country. I think yeah,
Yeah, it's quite common actually. Like a lot of countries import a lot of things from a lot of countries,
yeah,
so it's quite
yeah.
common. It's
That's
not an
how
issue.
that's how the whole world has been from past also,
Hmm.
right? Like from 2000 years, 3000 years,
Hmm.
right? That's how it used to be. We used to
Hmm.
like send spices, we used to get something else, right?
Hmm.
So
Right.
that's how the world used to work. Yeah,
And this is how it should be, because then
yeah,
if we have interdependency between us, then only we'll be able to keep up with the good relationship with each other,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
If we are like isolated and all, then definitely like it would not be, the relationship between us would not be that great, right,
Right,
between countries.
right.
So that is also a good thing, but also it's a bad thing because then if other country is not like, or if the other country is actually behaving not in a good way with us, or maybe is on the verge of war or something like that,
Hmm.
then in that case depending too much on a particular country is also harmful.
Yeah, yeah. No, so in those cases, most cases, we actually cut
Hmm.
ties with them quite
Hmm.
often, right? Like so, like we usually don't depend on these kinds of countries, right? Like
Hmm.
so, that is how. I think the governments understand it, countries understand it
Hmm.
like very quickly that okay, it is not working out. We'll just not do it. Same is happening with Bangladesh right now. Same has happened
Hmm.
with Pakistan 2 days back, right? So like that is understandable. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Government definitely understands that, and that's the reason why they have given that slogan like Atmanirbhar Bharat.
yeah,
And we are definitely going in that direction. We are manufacturing. We are
yeah,
actually so a lot of aircraft also we are planning to build in India itself. The parts of it.
yeah,
So yeah, we are in kind of a good position. But definitely, it will take some time. Maybe 10 years,
yeah,
15 years.
yeah,
I think we have discussed a lot about tariffs.
yeah,
Let's now move on to BIMSTEC summit.
yeah.
So do you want to add anything related to tariff, or we can move on?
I think this is good, man. Like I think we
Hmm.
went into various tangents along with tariff, which is
Yeah.
good. I think this is our first podcast, so anybody who is
Hmm.
hearing this, apologies if you think that okay,
Hmm.
these are like rambling into different topics, right?
Yeah.
These guys are going into different topics, but we will get it more structured, like eventually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And one more thing, like these are our personal views.
yeah,
So even if you don't like it, don't take it in a bad
yeah,
way or something.
yeah,
And based on the knowledge that we have, we are trying to share it. We are trying to discuss it.
yeah,
So in case if you are offended with it, then we are sorry about that.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's come to BIMSTEC summit.
yeah,
So it actually happened in Thailand. Our prime minister visited that, and it was the sixth BIMSTEC summit that happened.
yeah.
So let me show the map of it so that it becomes much more clear, because many people will not be having
Visibility
the
to it. Yeah,
understanding of it.
yeah.
So yeah, so these are the countries basically which are there in the BIMSTEC. So in Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, and this basically cover up the South Asia. So
Yeah,
this group is really important when it comes to the geopolitics of Southeast Asia. And
yeah,
there are lots of few developments that had happened. So recently they have published one paper. So basically it's called a vision document of 2030.
hmm.
And so there basically they have done a lot of things. So one was they have linked the UPI with
Hmm.
their BIMSTEC payment system. So they already have some kind of payment system
Hmm.
which they are internally using, and now they are integrating UPI also into that. So which is a good move for specifically for India. And then they have also created
Hmm.
some centers also, or planning to create some centers related to disaster management and sustainable maritime transport.
Yeah,
And even like for skill development they have some program which they are trying to initiate called Buddhi, which is BIMSTEC for organized development of human resource infrastructure.
yeah,
And they have also planning to create some cancer care capacity building. And I think that would be there in I think some country. It's not mentioned like in which country it will be developed. So there are lots of things that has happened, mostly related to maritime cooperation and all, which is I think really important, because when it comes to the uh, Indian Ocean, I think India is the king in that area, because we have a lot of influence here. And cooperating with other countries, especially like Thailand and Myanmar, definitely makes sense in terms of
yeah,
maritime and in terms of defense security also.
yeah,
We have also signed, I think, economic engagements, bilateral trade deals between the two countries, and we are planning to have some kind of free trade agreement also.
yeah.
So, any thoughts that you would like to share? Yes.
No, I think this is a good initiative. I think it started in 1997, as far as I have read, right? Like, and there were 4 countries
Hmm.
earlier, and then now there are 7 countries, right? Um, It is primarily focused on Bay of Bengal, the countries which is touched by Bay of Bengal, right? Like, so which are touched by Bay of Bengal, right? So excluding Nepal and Bhutan, what I'm seeing is like Nepal and Bhutan are like not on exactly Bay
Hmm.
of Bengal, right? Like, but I think that makes sense to have them as a part
Hmm.
of it, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so like any other uh, group of countries, right? Like, I think
Hmm.
this has its own benefits and its own agendas, right?
Hmm.
As you mentioned that they basically want to collaborate on like healthcare, they want to collaborate on trade, they want to collaborate on defense, right? Space tech and
Hmm.
everything. As we can already see, like India, I think, has the biggest landmass on this, right? And maybe also the biggest like economy also, right? Like, so the total
Hmm.
GDP of this whole group is like $5.1 trillion, what I have
Hmm.
read, right? Like, so which is quite a bit, right? And I think these are also crucial countries in general in trade, right? Like, from any trade from coming from Russia, China, to Middle East, goes through the area which is basically Sri Lanka, which comes under Bay of Bengal, right?
Hmm.
So I think this is crucial. A lot of these countries need to also grow, right? Eventually, right? Like, so Myanmar, Thailand, Sri Lanka, right? Like,
Hmm.
are those and these have smaller populations, right? Like, so and as we said, as you talked about, like when we were talking about tariff, right? Like, a lot of these
Hmm.
small countries will have to take help of bigger countries like India
Hmm.
and China, and it's completely fine. It's good, actually. I think it is a good collaboration. Honestly, I have not seen any um, big announcements in terms of
Hmm.
uh, any initiatives which are getting set up, right? Like, so all these centers are mentioned to be set up in India regarding
Hmm.
disaster management and other resources. I think that
Hmm.
should be done in general, because recently there was a earthquake which hit Myanmar and Thailand, right? Like, so I think these countries, and India should basically stand with these countries, right? So we need intel, we need our allies on in Bay of Bengal, right? Um, so yeah, a
Hmm.
little the whole squad is actually the whole squad is not actually like too much highlighted, right?
Hmm.
In the news, but I think this is a good initiative. This will take time, right?
Hmm.
And I think Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka are peaceful countries, right? Like, so
Yeah.
they don't want to engage, they want to like live a normal life, right? Like, and I think
Hmm.
that is completely fine. As I said, I think India is primarily, I think, leading the whole agenda here.
Hmm.
I think there was some affiliation to the agenda and the vision from
Hmm.
Bangkok's Vision 2020-30, which they had, which is good that India and like other countries are agreeing with that and basically
Hmm.
working on it together. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and also this group becomes quite important when it comes to the Act East Asia policy
Hmm.
that basically we are following. So initially we used to have that look east policy. Now we have
Huh.
Act East policy, and
Hmm.
definitely this group makes much more sense
Yeah.
with regards to that. But the problem which I face is that there are few countries which are quite unstable.
Hmm.
The first country that I felt is Bangladesh.
Hmm.
So the government that has happened, even the Myanmar is kind of unstable when it comes to the
Yeah.
government, because Myanmar is also not ruled by a government now. It has
Hmm.
been ruled by the military.
Yeah.
So that is also concerning. And Nepal is also kind of it's like a swing state, you can say,
Yeah.
because it depends on the kind of government that he has. They either support India or they support China.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that how much this group will be successful,
Hmm.
because the kind of countries that we have, like three countries are concerning for me: Nepal, Bhutan, Sorry,
Hmm.
Nepal, Bangladesh, and Myanmar.
Hmm.
Apart
Hmm.
from that, if you talk about Thailand and Bhutan, they are quite peaceful and quite decent countries. We have good
Yeah.
relationship with both of them.
Yeah, yeah. No, completely valid points, man.
Hmm.
Actually, this makes sense that these are a little bit unstable regions, right?
Hmm.
But I think that is why these kinds of summits, right, and these kinds of group are also important to, for at least maybe not all of them will understand, but maybe at least two of the allies will understand that okay, this
Hmm.
matters, right, and this will actually help us grow, right. And even if there is, it requires very less resources, right, I think it is a good
Hmm.
investment overall. That's how world works, right, like so you
Hmm.
basically take your bets on different opportunities and
Hmm.
different options, right, and some
Right.
of them basically passes, some of them fails you, right, like so I think this is one of those things. Uh, Definitely Bangladesh needs to stabilize quite a bit, right. I
Hmm.
don't think I don't know why they, I know why they are doing it, right. I'll not be naive and say that okay, I don't know why they do it, right. But
Hmm.
I think they should get to their senses as soon as possible, right.
Hmm.
Myanmar, I think Myanmar has a army rule, but I haven't seen India having
Hmm.
problem with it yet, right.
Hmm.
It is also influenced by China, I also know that, right.
Hmm.
But I still don't worry that much about Myanmar. I honestly think Myanmar should grow a lot, because if you see in landmass consideration, it is the second country which has the maximum land in this map, right.
Hmm.
So I think it should grow, right. It has a strategic advantage also. It is in Southeast Asia, has large potential, right, to
Hmm.
grow, right. But it also has its own problems like natural calamities, cyclones, tsunamis, earthquakes,
Right.
right, and all that stuff. So I think their perspective is a bit different on these things. Regarding Nepal, I think it will keep on jumping between China and India, right.
Hmm.
um, China is notorious with this, I understand, right. But yeah, that's how we have to play, like it's a small politics, it's a slow politics basically.
Hmm.
We'll have to keep on doing it. Yeah, as long as we are spending less resources on it, I think that is good.
Hmm.
um, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, shall we conclude? I think.
Yeah, I think this is
So, do
good.
you want to touch some other topics?
um No, man, I think this is good. This was a good podcast. As the first podcast, right? Like I think we have
Hmm.
already talked about that. We'll talk about AI, deep tech
Hmm.
going forward, right? And also mixing it with economies and like businesses and everything, right? Um, I'll probably get a better mic definitely in next. Um, next podcast, right, like, and we'll
Hmm.
do it very soon. I feel
Yeah.
this is a good thing. We should also probably get more people
Hmm.
on this, more interested people, right. We'll
Yeah.
post this, and like there will be few people who will be interested to be on it. um, yeah, so I think this is a good forum to actually, for people to actually open their minds at least, right, and
Hmm.
talk, right. As I said, like at the end of the day, like at the end of this podcast, there is nobody is supposed to be concluding on something that okay, I changed my mind, right. Just have a different perspective, that's all this podcast is about, right.
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
that is how I'm looking at it.
Hmm.
Again, I'll emphasize and thank Sahil a lot
Hmm.
actually, because he put up all the points, he organized this, like, and he is planning this.
Hmm.
I'll try to actually put in maximum of my efforts, right, because I think there is a value in it, right.
Hmm.
I understand there are a lot of things here and there right now, right, but we'll get more structured with time.
Hmm.
That is my belief, right. And I
Yeah.
think this is important, right. At least for me it was important, at least for,
Hmm.
I think it was important for Sahil also. If
Hmm.
other people who are interested in it and would like to share their opinion, have their have good opinions also, right, like so we would
Hmm.
like to have more people also on this. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it was our first podcast actually. Like this is the
Yeah,
first time that we both are creating this kind of thing, and
yeah,
definitely like your suggestions and you will definitely help us. And if you find anything that needs to be improved, then definitely you can add those things in comments. We will definitely try to work on that.
yeah,
And so in the next podcast, basically we'll talk about technology.
yeah,
So it will completely be based on technology, and we'll talk about AIML, or how the software engineering industry is kind of changing. And
yeah,
so based on that, and based on depending upon like, so what kind of latest tools and technologies that are emerged in the market. So all of these things will be discussed there, and we'll also be having few guests also, like so that the conversation can be even more better and even more
useful and of value.
discussive kind of.
Yeah, 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 makes
Yeah,
sense.
so
Yeah,
thank you guys for like agreeing with this podcast. And
no, no.
it was really a great conversation that we had, and hope to meet you soon in episode 2.
Yeah, so just I wanted to since we are like closing this off, right? Like Sahil and I also discussed about the recent Pahalgam attack which happened in
Hmm.
India, right, in Kashmir. Our 26 Indian citizens were actually killed in this
Hmm.
terrorist attack, right? We just wanted to share our condolences
Hmm.
to all the families, right? And
Yeah.
we are all the Indians, I think, are deeply troubled by it, right? Are
Hmm.
in a lot of pain, right, and a lot of anger also regarding what has happened, right?
Hmm.
We were going to chat about it in this podcast, right? But then we also realized that uh, the agenda of this podcast was different right from start, right? And
Hmm.
we didn't want it to make this into a different kind of agenda, right? Maybe we'll cover this as a separate episode eventually. Do let us know whether you want to talk about it or not, right?
Hmm.
But right now we are deeply we are our condolences goes out to the families of the people who were killed into this. A really um, there are no words to actually justify how horrible this is and like what kind of people can do this.
Hmm.
So yeah, again a big reminder that as Indians we need to stand together, learn together, grow together, and never forget what happened, right? Like, and
Hmm.
basically grow together. Yeah,
Yeah. So let's conclude.
yeah, so thanks. Yeah,
So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in episode 2.
yeah.